Irish Guy, and this is the Prem catch-up looking at all the results from the weekend in the Premier League. Right, let's go. Nottingham Forest 0, Liverpool 1. Play the clip.
Nottingham Forest 0, Liverpool 1. No chance of Liverpool lose. 1-0, Darwin Núñez off the bench with the winner. No way Liverpool lose here. If they do, then I will dunk 5 buckets of Pepsi over my head.
Well, would you look at that? Lads, for years, I always assumed that I had a dead bumblebee rotting in the middle of my brain. I mean, every time I sneeze, I'm half expecting to have to wipe some beep off the wall because something has caused me to grow up to be some sort of porridge-brained, paranoid idiot who thinks that lollipops are minions of the devil. But today, I am vindicated. I just saw into the future. I'm sorry, but there are supposed psychics out there charging desperate people £85 to tell them that their grandma is waxing her armpits on a cloud. There are fortune tellers sitting in a caravan at festivals telling drunken sleazebags that they're all gonna grow up to be president. What, you mean even the 45-year-old fat bloke in the Green Day t-shirt who has greasy chicken wing stains all down his front? But I'm sorry, I have put all of those frauds and charlatans to shame because on Friday morning, I briefly saw through space and time to 100% correctly predict this game. 1-0, Darwin Núñez off the bench with the winner. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was close. Don't forget that Andrew Omadababaili was dragged to the floor by Joe Gomez in the penalty box in the final minute. This could have been a Forest win, and I would stink of so much Pepsi that I'd probably cause my diabetic postman to faint whenever I open the door. But no, Núñez scores in the 99th minute of the match. There's leaving it late, and then there's this. One of the latest goals in Premier League history. But people are sighing about this result. Yet another last-minute Liverpool win. Lads, relax. They've been doing it for years. They are like the great Manchester United teams of old. I sort of made my peace with the fact that the Reds always seem to nick it in the last minute. When Divock Origi buried a last-minute winner at Molyneux in December 2021. By the way, as someone who was playing this match for Forest, it must have felt weird. He's literally someone who scored in a Champions League final for the visitors. The greatest moment of his career by a country mile. So him trying to score against the Reds on Saturday probably did feel a bit like somebody had just asked you to sneak a dirty nappy into your grandma's bowl of Rice Krispies. But listen, people are kicking up a huge fuss because Ibrahim Konate receives a head injury in injury time, and the drop ball is then given to Caoimhin Kelleher when it should have been Forest to regain possession of the ball. That's in the rules. And then Núñez scores directly after that. It was an absolute disgrace. I mean, the sight of Forest's scary owner, someone who looks like a mixture of Hagrid and Tony Soprano, the sight of him standing on the touchline, glaring at the ref. Full disclosure, if I was the referee, I'd probably have done a scared mini poo on the floor. There was a huge kerfuffle. Boss Nuno Santo looked utterly heartbroken, while his assistant Stephen Reid was sent off for complaining. It's a disgrace, a farce, a fix. No. Lads, if you look at the clip of this incident that was posted by Sky Sports, they had to speed up the play to make it look like Núñez's goal was directly after the incident. I mean, if there was sound on the video, they would have all sounded like Mickey Mouse squealing for the ball. Forest regained possession of the ball twice after the drop ball mistake. But I'm sorry, 2 minutes later, the ball went out of play twice. If you want to blame anyone, blame your defenders for switching off in the 99th minute. Blame Taiwo Awani for not bulldozing through McAllister on the edge of the box, or the centre-backs for losing sight of Núñez at the last second, or even Matt Sells for not diving for the ball. Yes, it is a mistake. It is an error. If I was a Forest fan, I would be angry. I don't even blame Reid for getting the red card. He must have felt like eating the ref's ears in a pie. I mean, the Forest owner is probably already texting his hired goons to see if they fancy smashing up Paul Tierney's wheatie bin. But honestly, a disgrace? A fix? No. Blame yourselves, Forest. Man City 3, Man United 1. Manchester United are depressing. I'm sorry, but they were absolutely eaten like a grilled cheese sandwich. It's the hope that kills you, and the Man United fans, when they saw Marcus Rashford unleash an absolute thunderbolt, rocket in off Ederson's crossbar after 8 minutes, they were probably all dreaming of a shock derby win. This was Rashford, back on form and with a point to prove, after fighting out against the creepy journalists, probably rifling through his bins for dirt. I mean, what did they expect to find? The head of a hungry orphan? But lads, here, Manchester United were about to pull off an incredible win over the best team in the world. They say that scoring too early is a nonsense cliche in football, but is it? Giving Manchester United a 1-0 head start and telling those players to hold on to that for over an hour and a half, that's what produces a hilariously lopsided match stats sheet where they wound up with 27% possession of the ball and 3 shots to City's 27. 3 shots to 27. That goal of the season contender from Rashford was their only shot on target. You know what this reminds me of? The Champions League final in 2011, when Manchester United came up against Pep's Barca. Yes, Rooney somehow scored and United lost 3-1, and they were chasing shadows the entire match. That top-class finish from Rooney was, guess what? their only shot on target. The most depressing thing about this match is that it is 13 years later, and Manchester United still have no clue how to handle Pep. They're still not able to provide any answers. Guardiola has been consistently doing this against Manchester United for the past 15 years. They just can't get the ball off his teams. How deflating must that feel? No wonder Sofyan Amrabat crumbled like a marshmallow pie in the final minute. Don't get me wrong, City were magnificent in that second half, and Phil Foden, I am going to give him his roses. You know how daunting it must have been for a teenage boy trying to make it in City's academy when they had been the richest club in the world since he was 8. The guy was just 16 years old when Guardiola took the job. Do you know how easy it would have been for him to throw a Sancho, get impatient and quit the club? People always thought that Pep even denying him a loan move away was cruel, halting his progress, and that Foden was just wasting his talent on the bench. That Guardiola was wrecking his career. I'm sorry, but can I just say, what, would you have rather Foden got loaned away and grew up to be the original Tommy Doyle? 5 years ago, Rangers were trying to sign Foden on loan. What exactly would that have done for this generational talent, playing against Motherwell and Dundee every week? I mean, on his return to the Etihad, he probably have to undertake a 6-week intensive anti-brainwashing course to unlearn everything Steven Gerrard are trying to teach him. Anybody who thinks that Guardiola had played it wrong, refusing to let Foden go on loan to Celtic or Girona, essentially giving him the Patrick Roberts treatment, just be quiet and never speak again. By keeping Foden in his pocket alongside his chewing gum and Jaffa cakes, Guardiola has created the perfect player. 18 goals and 10 assists in 40 matches this season. Foden would have been dreaming of scoring against Manchester United since he was watching Thomas the Tank Engine in his Pokemon PJs. Yeah, in his last 2 matches against United at the Etihad, he has netted 5. Wow! They say that people hype up average English players to an insufferable degree, and they do. No way in an otter's nutsack should Jack Grealish have ever commanded anything close to a £100 million transfer fee. But Foden, this man is a generational talent. I am about to pay him the biggest compliment I could possibly think of. The world-class treble winners that Guardiola created at Barcelona, arguably the greatest club side that has ever been. This version of Foden, a 23-year-old, peerless, confident, world-class Foden, he would have started in that team instead of Thierry Henry on the left. Yes, I know that almost sounds like sacrilege. I'm sorry, Foden over Henry? Don't get me wrong. Peak Henry at Arsenal was different gravy and should have won a Ballon d'Or. But the 31-year-old version of Henry, post-divorce? Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was still quality for Barca, but I mean, it wasn't his best work. I think Foden, this version of Foden would have perfectly slotted into that team better. He would have been a better fit. Putting Foden on the same pitch as Xavi and Iniesta, the low center of gravity, the 1-2s, the twisting and turning. He plays like a Spaniard. How on earth was this kid born in Stockport? I mean, he does look like somebody who's probably conceived in a McDonald's bag in some beat up Nissan Micra at the back of Morrison's. He looks like somebody who failed an audition for Shameless Season 3. But make no mistake about it, he is the English Iniesta. This is the most Barcelona-esque footballer that England have ever produced. No wonder Pep has been so protective over him for years, refusing to let rival coaches poison him with their primitive style of football. Honestly, Foden is spectacular. But as for Man United, what do they expect? What business does Johnny Evans have being on the pitch at a Manchester derby in 2024? This is someone that Manchester City tried to sign from West Brom as a joke 6 years ago, purely to wind up the United fans. I mean, do you think he'd get anywhere near Pep's matchday squad now? No, there'd be more chance of Guardiola deciding to eat an orphan on the news. I mean, Rashford scored his wonder goal and then just shut down for the night. He was poor. Look, I know that Manchester United pulled off some shock wins over Pep inside the last 2 years, mainly under Ollie for some weird reason. Yes, they have caught Guardiola on a couple of off days, but let's be real, it's mainly just being them, being absolutely overwhelmed by this coach in 2009, and the fact that this is a virtual carbon copy of their Champions League final humiliations against Barcelona. All 3 games were just 2 goal defeats for Man United, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Both those Champions League finals were more like 5-0 and 6-1, and again, City could have scored 5 here, nobody would blink an eye, but play the clip.
If Manchester United lose by less than 3 goals, then I will slap myself in the face with 5 separate salmons.
Alright. Salmon in the face tomorrow. Oh, that's gonna be grim. Luton Town 2, Aston Villa 3. This is sad. This is deflating. Look, I know that Everton lost this weekend, but I mean, I do still feel pretty safe from the milk. I have always been programmed into wanting Luton to lose every week to protect my skin, feeling like it's just being stuck in the stomach of a cow. But Luton, despite everybody talking about them as some great surprise package this season, honestly, if you spoke to a random person on the street about Luton Town this season, and with no knowledge of the table, you'd assume that the Hammers were hunting down European football. I mean, Ross Barkley's been talked up for an England recall and a move to Manchester United. What? You'd swear Luton were Wigan Athletic in 2005. Honestly, Wigan were an even smaller club. This was a pudding tiny outfit. They'd been playing in the Football League only since 1978. They were just some rotten conference outfit for the 40 years before, playing in a football ground where there's probably only one toilet for the fans, and just a Fanta orange bottle in the bushes by the corner flag. They were a monster surprise package. Everyone had tipped them to finish rock bottom of the league on just 6 points. No. They were third in the league in November, chasing Champions League football. They wound up reaching a cup final, finishing 10th, and one of their nobody summer signings wound up spending that summer sitting on a bench in a World Cup final for France. Yeah, Pascal Chabana has since gone from fetching Zidane his cookies to now playing for Skelmersdale United at the age of 45. Come on, Pascal, your hamstrings must look like a woman's womb after giving birth to 7 babies in a row. But yes, that newly promoted Wigan team were a roaring underdog success. I think we need to reset our valuation of Luton because, yeah, they are a battling, well-organized team, punching above their weight, but they're just getting cut adrift at the bottom. Yeah, I mean, they showed spirit and fight in the second half to come back from 2-0 down to equalise. But no, Lucadinha pops up in the 89th minute to win the match. Play the clip.
If Villa don't win here, then I will send a really creepy tweet to Thogden.
Yeah, I was this close to having Thogden's lawyers texting me to stop, but right now it really does just look like the 3 promoted teams, for the first time since I've been watching football, are all going back down. And if that happens, it just makes this season seem like such a waste of time. Everton won, West Ham 3. Wow. I didn't actually realize that Everton have now failed to win a game for 10 league matches. Where did that stat creep up from? I just thought that the Toffees were doing well. But 10 games without a win? How though? How has that happened? Because here, they were by far the better team. They had 22 shots, 11 on target. Beto even missed a penalty after showing the conviction of a constipated meerkat at the zoo. But to lose this match after completely dominating West Ham, Sean Dyche will probably be furious that he just didn't sign a striker in January, as he's like some elderly woman who's gone to the cinema to watch Aquaman with her grandkids. Yeah, she's 40 minutes into the film, is munching on popcorn, and suddenly thinks,
Damn, I really should have brought those anti-diarrhea tablets from home.
The usher had to spend 50 minutes spraying her seat with a hose. Look, I'm not going to criticize Everton. And for anything that Dyche is inching towards the sack, it's nonsense. Yes, it is a horrible 10-match run on paper, but they played well in those games. I don't think people realize just how low on quality this Toffee squad is. They haven't really been able to spend much for a solid 2-3 years. Dyche is having to use average milk muffins, who should have been swept out of the club years ago. Getting rid of Sean now would be stupid. Who are they possibly going to get to replace him? Some delusional fans who got spoiled by luring ex-Real Madrid managers like Ancelotti and Benitez to the club. They might think that they'll get their hands on Mourinho. Sorry, Jose Mourinho will probably sooner cut off his own tongue and slurp worms out of a nun's toilet bowl than touch this Toffee squad. Honestly, if Mourinho rocked up to this stadium holding an Everton shirt, I genuinely believe that Dele Alli would buy a one-way ticket to Peru. Newcastle 3, Wolves 0. So, where are the Gary O'Neill fanboys now? Where are the people who want to lick this moldy old donut on the cheek because he's got Wolves winning a couple of games? Lads, I said that if Eddie Howe lost his managerial battle against O'Neill, that I would eat a mud sandwich. Thankfully, I was never even close to having to spend this week picking half-digested earwigs out of my poo because Wolves were typically hopeless. Newcastle made absolute light work of this team. Goals from Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon, and Tino Livramento gave the Magpies a very comfy routine win. But they did it differently. Considering they've been defending like a bunch of brain-dead hillbillies recently, Newcastle decided to drop a little deeper and let Wolves dominate possession before hitting them on the break, and the return of Joe Willock is a huge plus for Newcastle. I think people have forgotten what this guy is capable of. He's an absolute baller. It was only 5 minutes ago that AFTV were speaking him up as a mini Iniesta. He was the future. He was the truth. Honestly, Willock at his best, he knocks on the door of the England squad. Fulham 3, Brighton 0. Brighton are slipping out of the top half. Lads, at the start of the season, I predicted that the Seagulls would finish in the bottom half of the league. Yes, they've been in good form in Europe, but that 6-1 loss at Villa Park in September has shaken them like no other. It has taken such a toll on their league form. They've only won 5 league games since, and that match was nearly 6 months ago. The only reason the Seagulls are still in the top half now is because of their brilliant end of summer form. But since the 24th of September, they have taken 24 points from possible 63. That's just 5 points more than little Luton Town. Nobody has noticed it yet. Nobody seems to want to talk about Brighton's poor form. Instead, we're having to listen to the media link their manager with Barcelona, Liverpool, and Man United. Really? Does Bobby De Zerbi's work this season truly warrant that? Does he deserve a Barcelona? Because all I'm seeing Is Potter the sequel? Their form in Europe has been good, but let's be real. Ajax were an absolute car crash mess. They were bottom of the Dutch league at the time. Marseille were also a wobbly, chaotic, clumsy, inconsistent mess under Gennaro Gattuso. Brighton are lucky that Jose Mourinho has since been sacked, because it would have done De Zerbi stock no favors at all when this young new manager with modern progressive ideas apparently gets absolutely swept out of Europe with ease by someone who is supposed to be more out of date than a yogurt that my mum's had in the fridge since 1993. Yeah, it now just looks like an inside out fish. Sorry Brighton, but for the talent you have in your squad, I am not impressed at all. Brentford 2, Chelsea 2. Play the clip.
Honestly lads, if Brentford do beat Chelsea this Saturday, then I will eat a cheese omelette off a stranger's head.
Wow, I was close. Look, this was a crazy game which was minutes away from making another Brentford win over Chelsea, courtesy of a sublime Johan Wissa bicycle kick. But no, Axel Lizassi pops up with a late equalizer, and you know what, Chelsea? Calm down. I don't think this result is all that bad. It's kind of sad because Mauricio Pochettino seems like an affable, lovely little man, and yet he's openly saying that he doesn't receive the love from the Chelsea fans. Oh, you think? He's got people calling him a disgrace on his actual birthday. He turned 52 on Saturday, and he's got little milk muffins calling him a disgrace. He's got Chelsea fans treating him as Rafa Benitez II. Look, Chelsea need to stop hiring blokes who used to manage their rivals. Yes, Tottenham fans seem to eat up ex-Chelsea managers as if they're lollipops, but Chelsea, they didn't like Benitez because he was ex-Liverpool, and they don't like Poch because he's ex-Spurs. Just stop doing it, Chelsea. Every Chelsea success story over the last 20 years were all managers who had never coached in the Premier League before. Chelsea were their first job in England, so stop it. Tottenham 3, Crystal Palace 1. Play the clip.
And lads, if Spurs don't win, then I will buy a Captain Underpants book and lick every single page.
Oh, this was close. I never thought I'd say this, but well done, Timo Werner. Anyway, that's the end. What do you think? Let me know. What do you think? Let me know. What did you make of this game? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to connect as always. I'll talk to you in a while.